Hello, thank you everyone for joining us today on Talent Trust's August 2020 Executive Briefing, Recruiting in a Virtual World. If you experience technical difficulties during our webinar today, please contact Susan Henry from the Talent Trust team. Her contact information is in the chat. We will also use the chat today to collect questions throughout the briefing. So please put any questions you have there, and there will be time before our 30 minutes is up to have Kathleen address those. Today's briefing is presented by Kathleen Quinn Votaw, founder and CEO of Talent Trust and author of Solve the People Puzzle. Kathleen is also an experienced keynote speaker, and throughout the pandemic and the recovery, she's continued to share her message virtually with business leaders. Put your people first, everything else will follow. Kathleen has helped over 500 companies in a variety of industries all across the United States navigate the discord to develop fulfilling cultures, targeted recruiting strategies, and most importantly, engaged employees who want to come to work each day. In today's briefing, Kathleen will share imperatives for recruiting in our virtual world for successful growth and recovery beyond 2020. It's my pleasure to introduce my friend, Kathleen Quinn Votaw.
Good morning. How is everyone? I am seeing the participants start growing and growing and growing and growing. I see some very friendly names. Welcome to those I know, and welcome to those who are new to us. So it's August of 2020. Can you believe it's been 24 months we've been in this Zumanji game and in this state of our country? I can't. I keep counting. I hope there's a day I can stop counting when we're in this new reality for all of us. But we're here today to talk about recruiting in a virtual world. It is so important. We see companies getting back to work. It's very exciting. We're getting calls. I just got a call this morning that someone needs 1,200 people. Last week, we got an assignment for 100 people. So we're coming back. It's very exciting for all of us, for companies, for employees, for hiring managers, for our country. And we're going to talk about some really key components to recruiting in a virtual world. So because you joined us today, you're going to get not only some of my perspective and some tools, we're also going to share with you a recovery hiring guide. A recovery hiring guide. It's hot off the presses. It's not even on our website yet, but we want you to have it because it further explains some of the content that we'll be talking about today. So let's jump into the data. I'm going to go audio so you can focus on the data, and then I'll come back for Q&A. So here's the first thing I want you to think about. Think of recruiting as an ongoing sales process. This is the number one thing that's important for you to think about. Most of our clients and prospects think of it more of as an administrative task. It's not. It is a sales and marketing process. And make sure that your people are aware of your organization so they can attract candidates that you otherwise would never know about. No matter the economic conditions, you really need to maintain a pipeline of people. For your top position, my strong suggestion is that you have a pipeline that is at least 10 people deep. You want to find the right people to help you survive and grow, and you know what? Thrive after all of this is over. We want to make sure that you understand the pipeline is so critical. That's why it's a marketing and sales process. Then when you get to hiring, you're looking for evaluating candidates for the skills that meet your culture. That's really important as well. When you develop a pool of likely candidates, the pipeline you've built will help you keep from hiring in crisis and scrambling to fill positions in time. So by having this pipeline of people, you will have the discipline to make sure you hire the right people, not the wrong people who just happen to be available. So that's recruiting imperative number one in a virtual world. Number two, never, never, ever stop recruiting. Now, I've heard from some people that it's hard for them to continuously recruit because they're worried about how people might think about their organization because they don't really have a job opening. Let me challenge that belief system just a little bit. It is your job as an industry leader or a hiring manager to ensure you have the right people in the seats all the time. If you don't have the inventory and you stop recruiting, then you're not going to have the people there ready to hire when you get the next new big contract, when you open a new facility. So really, it's adopting a methodology and a mindset of you're never going to stop recruiting. So you have the inventory of capable, quality people who align with your values, your attitudes, and beliefs that you can pull from when you get that next big contract, because you're going to. So that's number two. Some people run into, I'm going to stop recruiting because I don't have any openings. And I get that feedback when I speak to audiences. But in my world and our clients' world, you never stop recruiting. Number three, let's sharpen our toolkit when it comes to strategies and selection processes. Sometimes people don't necessarily have a real process around selection. There have always been and always will be supply and demand and gaps for skills. So the issue with skills gap is going to get worse, not better. So here's a couple things I want you to think about to sharpen your recruiting strategies and selection processes. Number one, use assessments. Data and science can help you get less emotional about who you're going to select to work for your company. We like preview assessments. They're predictive, and they help you identify how people think and how they're going to behave and what they want to do, what they love to do. So sometimes when you meet people, unfortunately, you create unintended biases, positive and negative. So by using assessment tools, you take the emotion and feelings out of hiring and start using some data. So that's point number one in selection, to sharpen your toolkit. Number two, use work product to assess people's ability to actually do the job. Let me give you some examples of that. So if you're interviewing somebody for a marketing role, have them show you what they've done in the past. If you're hiring somebody for a sales role, have them sell you something and build a PowerPoint deck. And if you're looking for somebody in administration to support you, how do they write their email? Have them write an email with proper grammar, proper punctuation, and proper structure in order to make sure that you're hiring the right person. And you can even use work product, how you put things together in engineering and mechanical jobs. In Chicago with one of our clients, this was a fun thing we did. We put a bowl of widgets and pieces of equipment, some of which went together, some of which didn't go together. And we asked the candidates who came in to put something together. Those who were creative and engineering and liked the way things work, put the item together very quickly and put aside the pieces that didn't fit. So there's so many applications to get really actual work product. Think of the Jerry Maguire movie, Show Me the Money. Well, show me you can do it. That's what I want you to put in process when it comes to selection. Number three, make sure multiple people interview the candidate. Don't hire somebody in isolation. Don't also interview somebody in isolation. So now, caution here, don't have 15 people interviewing a candidate. 2 to 3 is the best target number. And make sure you have somebody who has nothing to gain from hiring this person other than the culture. Make sure you have a cultural ambassador who really will keep their eyes on how someone's behaving, because how they behave translates into values. And the fourth thing I want to talk about around sharpening your toolkit here in selection is check references. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, I don't check references. Nobody's going to tell me the truth anyhow. That is not true. Make sure you check references. And with LinkedIn now, you can look who they're connected to and who you're connected to in common. Shoot them a note. Hey, did you work with Sally Smith? Tell me about her. There's really great data out there, and make sure you check people out before you bring them into your culture, your company, and make sure they align with you. So make sure you sharpen your toolkit is our third recommendation in recruiting in a virtual world. And then recruiting is happening in a virtual world, and it's going to continue to. We want to make sure that you have the tools to overcome any limitations. You can really assess people virtually, just like you used to do in person. Invest in some recruitment technology that provides deeper insights into the people you are interviewing versus their resume. We, for example, are hiring a marketing manager right now for our company. We're going onto LinkedIn to see how they market themselves. So using tools like that, also using tools to video interview prior to your interview time. You can ask them one key question via video and see how they actually engage via this virtual world that we're all living in. Improve your quality of hire by using that data from pre-hiring video, and it will be a really great strategy for you. And then I want to talk about the recruiting imperatives about this skill gap issue. The skill gaps still exist. Please don't be fooled because we have millions of people out of work. I'm sorry there's millions of people out of work, but there's still, for you and your companies, quality of hire is absolutely critical. In just April of this year, 2020, a study revealed that shutdowns have shifted a change in skills gap, but there's still huge challenges. There's challenges in skills gaps in healthcare, nursing and compliance in particular. There's going to be more demand than ever. There's also demand in operations, analysis, and innovation roles. And you know, those essential workers in construction, manufacturing, and engineering, there's huge skills gaps there right now. Don't be fooled just because there's millions of people unemployed, which God bless them, and I want them all to get a job, that you're now not going to have to worry about that quality of hire. It's actually going to get more tricky because you're going to have so much volume to move through. So be cautious. Don't get all excited because you've got inventory. Be very critical of the quality of hire. And then let's use some tools. I love technology tools, but don't go overboard. You don't want to spend too much money right now, but there's some great tech tools out there that you can use. Instant chat is super cool. Make sure people can actually use tools like that in your organization, like Microsoft Teams, or can they talk to you on LinkedIn? Do they know how to use the messaging function? Video conferencing, challenge people to use different things and different platforms. So they might be able to use it on a laptop, but then can they use technology on an iPad and a phone? Also, how are people storing their data? Are they used to tools like Office 365 and SharePoint? You look at project management skills because people are working very remotely. Do they have the capability to actually manage a product? And my colleague Erin wants to jump in verbally and add a point here. Go ahead, Erin.
Yes, thank you, Kathleen. We frequently get the question about artificial intelligence. There is a lot of literature out there about how AI is affecting all facets of business, and for us, it comes up most notably in recruiting. And there are many ways that this applies. The chat and instant messaging is a key way that AI is adding to your ability to move faster and more effectively in recruiting. Furthermore, there are numerous applicant tracking systems out there, tons of wonderful tools. Some of them have this AI capability right there built in, which is wonderful. So in addition to that, Kathleen mentioned the video interviewing capability. These applicant tracking systems not only provide AI options in some cases, but also video technology. So my recommendation would be, yes, consider a variety of tech tools, but also don't miss that some of these may come all together collectively as well.
That's great. Thank you, Erin. She's super smart, people. Erin Dugan, VP of Client Acquisition at Talent Trust. Thank you, Erin. And don't forget, we have many Americans that need work. Let's help put them back to work first. There's unique and turbulent times out there. Let's hire Americans if we can to help put the millions who are out of work. I believe if you're offshoring, maybe reshore some of those positions and keep the jobs here right now so we can build back up our economy, support our growth in America and American pride in the work that we're doing. You know, obviously, if you have a position that requires skill sets that absolutely no one in our country can do, go for it. But I've got to tell you, a lot of our country is in pain right now, and I'd like to put them back to work as much as possible. Consider it if you can. Look to our people first. And then I wanted to share with you something that's really important to me. I feel as though we're all in this together. I know that I truly believe, and I always have, that the sum of us is greater than any one of us. So more than anything, we need to understand that each of us is under a lot of stress right now. The top stressors, we've had so many stresses in 2020. I don't know what more can happen. We should each show each other a little bit more grace and empathy and understanding, and understand that we don't know what's going on in their journey. Some people are having a really tough time right now. Colleagues, hiring managers, other business owners, other employees. And let's just extend a lot of grace to people right now as we build back our country, build back our companies, get people back to work. So I'm going to jump into the ability for all of you to get more data from us. As you know, these executive briefings are brief for a reason. We value your time. We want to give you a lot of meaty information. But because you joined us today, you don't have to download our revised 2020 Recovery Hiring Guide. We're going to give it to you along with this deck. You also can email me at kvotaw@talenttrust.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. We post a lot of good data and resources there as well. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, KQV Speaks. I'm going to go back on video and invite Erin to do so as well. And we're going to answer the questions that have been rolling in. Thank you, Erin, and thank you all for joining us. What are the questions that our wonderful group of people who joined us have today?
Yes, thank you, Kathleen. Thank you for sharing all of this. And I am really excited for everybody to receive the Recovery Hiring Guide and go deeper in that resource. The first question that we had was, what is the biggest difference between successful recruiting before COVID and after COVID?
Mm-hmm. So the biggest difficulty, was that the question?
The biggest difference,
okay.
Right? Like what is the one fundamental difference between before 2020 and after 2020?
So the biggest adaptation and change is you can't be with somebody in person all the time. Many people are feeling unsafe and they don't want to leave their homes. So you have to interview people in this, video reality. And you might have to hire someone without ever meeting them in person. Does that creep you out or scare you? I know it does a lot of the people we work with, but it's okay. You can verify and verify and verify through references, as I said earlier. Use social media tools to help you understand people more deeply. And also make sure you have multiple people involved in this video interviewing situation. So I'd say, Erin, and to whoever asked that question, that it's really because you have to hire without touching people. And I know we're not supposed to touch people, but you know what I mean. You can't be in person and, you know, break bread with them. And, you know, it's harder now. And if they're in a position where they have to be out in the world, then you're going to have to get them back into the world and meeting you. So balance all of those expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very good. We talked about technology tools today, and you're right. The reality is that we have to be more comfortable making a hiring decision before having met the person physically. What we share with our clients, and a mantra for us internally has been, technology meeting the human side, right? You put those two things together, you can create the connection that you need to make good decisions, and also that connection you need that will carry the person into retention and engagement long term too. The next question, Kathleen, has to do with assessments and kind of the sharpening of the process you mentioned. This participant asks, why do you like Preview as an assessment tool? Can you compare and contrast that tool to others such as the PXT Select?
I saw that question in chat. Hi, Brad. Nice to see you too. Yes, so we have done a lot of research on assessments, and we've used Predictive Index, Profile XT, and Preview. Preview actually has many of the same kinds of data and science as Profile XT does, but we find some of their reporting to be more supportive of building teams. So all three of the assessments, Predictive Index, Profile XT, and Preview, have a predictive nature to them. So for example, if I'm going to hire a marketing person, I want to make sure somebody's creative. And so they'll have those predictive pieces to see if somebody's likely to love doing the work. And all three of them have that. What Preview has uniquely is some tools to compare teams together. They have more coaching tools, because assessments are not just for selection, they're also for getting the best out of the people you need. We, for our team and for other companies, we know exactly how Erin's going to show up. They know how I'm going to show up. You know, they have great definitions that are in layman's terms for your profile. So for example, I'm more of a maverick, and Erin, you have a profile as well. What's your profile definition?
I mean, I'm a maverick like you too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have other people on our team that complement us, more diplomatic people than the mavericks out there. So you want to build a team that can serve your clients and people and honor the skill set. So Brad, I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one. We really love that tool. Go ahead, Erin, with your questions.
Okay. We have two more, and we do have some time here. So this person says, you said we should not stop recruiting even if we're not hiring, but isn't that confusing or rude to candidates in my team?
Great question. Not at all. I think I touched on that just a little bit, and I hear that. I've heard that for 30 years. But it is your job, your responsibility to make sure you have the inventory in preparation for your growth. And let's just be optimistic and say, we're all going to grow, okay? We're going to grow. We're going to grow back. So you have to have the inventory. So you can be very honest about what you're doing with candidates. If you feel uncomfortable, you can say, hey, Erin, I'm really building a pipeline for our future growth. We're not necessarily going to hire in the next 60 to 90 day window. We want to make sure we're prepared for our growth, and we'll likely be hiring in Q1 of 2021. But by identifying you ahead of time, we're ready for when our clients are ready to hire us. So then we've already done some of the pieces to qualify you. So that's the kind of language. Don't lie. I'm not suggesting you're dishonest in any way, but tell them you're building a pipeline for your future growth, and that likely you're going to hire at X date. so people understand that. Great question.
It's about the language and the communication, absolutely. In addition to that, it's about having a process to be able to manage that proactive approach to always being recruiting, and that can, that you've got to get that in place. The last question we have here, what is the best way to measure quality of hire in your opinion?
It's not one thing, of course. So the quality of hire, you need to have a scorecard. You really need to create a scorecard that takes some of the emotion out of things. Some of the things you're going to look at is cultural alignment, the assessment results, and their work product and their ability to do the job, how they show up, and make sure you have some qualitative and quantitative data to really assess how they're going to fit your organization. And ranking on a scale of 1 to 5 candidates can help you take some of the emotion out of hiring people, because just naturally some people are going to present better in different areas. So I really, developing a scorecard that's a one-page scorecard with common language and common ranking, so people know what 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 mean when you give somebody that ranking, is really helps you assess, document, and assess that quality of candidate.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Our time is just about up, so we are going to go ahead and wrap up for today. Thank you all for attending. When you log off, there will be an opportunity to answer 2 fast questions on a survey. We want to know how we did, and we want to know what's valuable to you coming next. I encourage you to complete that. You will also receive a follow-up email that will include this recording, this deck that we went through, as well as the new recovery hiring guide that nobody else will have other than you folks, okay? Thank you all so much for joining us. Look for our next executive briefing coming up on Wednesday, September 23rd. That will also be at 11 o'clock Mountain Time. Hope to see you there. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Be well.